Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live to the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. My name is Brendan Glasheen. Today we have the number 23 Bowdoin College Polar Bears visiting the UMass Boston Beacons women's basketball team. We'll look out for this Bowdoin team. Their only two losses in state have come to the top two teams in the nation, according to D3Hoops.com. The Amherst Club as well as Tufts, two teams that have dominated women's college basketball at the D3 level over the years. For the Beacons, what it's going to take today, a key effort out of Tajay Burston, the point guard, who scored a career-high 15 points last time out in the loss to Keene State a couple of nights ago. Tajay also leading the conference, Little East Conference, in assists and assist-to-turnover ratio. So look for Tajay Burston to have a big day and for the Beacons to go for the upset to conclude this four-game homestand. We'll have a lot more in this pregame show ahead of Bowdoin and UMass Boston, and is coming up next on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
UMass Boston is my first choice because of the incredible theater department.
Because it has an excellent honors college.
Because here I get to interact with professors one-on-one.
Because I'm not going to be crazy in debt when I graduate.
Because at UMass Boston, I've met professors who have changed my life.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
Make the University of Massachusetts Boston your first choice. Visit umb.edu/first choice.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. It's one of those moments you never forget.
And we're live at the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. We have the Bowdoin College Polar Bears taking on the UMass Boston Beacons. We already talked about Tajay Burston today for our player to watch on the UMass Boston side. Like we told you, she scored a career-high 15 points in the loss to Keene State the other day. The Beacons trailed at halftime by 15. And they made a comeback to shorten that deficit, but unable to finish off the comeback. Burston still had a career day for the Beacons. So for the Beacons, they'll need a big effort out of her for today. Also, UMass Boston relying heavily on Raven Kelsey inside, the 5'9 junior from Boston. Kelsey averaging 11.8 points per game, also 8.9 rebounds per game. So she's been solid underneath. The Beacons trying to end the two-game losing skid and also come away with the victory in their final non-conference game of the season here against Bowdoin. Like we told you, the number 23 team in the country, according to D3Hoops.com. We'll step aside for a moment. We'll send it now to the highlights from this past Saturday's game against Keene State. The women fell 65-55. And we're back at the Clark Athletic Center. Like you just saw there, the women's basketball team coming off a loss to Keene State. They try to end the 2-game losing streak here today. Let's turn to some of the stats on both sides for the Beacons and Bowdoin College. UMass Boston averaging just about 67 points per game. Bowdoin just over 73. Bowdoin's defensive numbers impressive, averaging just 50.5 points allowed per contest. Shooting the ball well as well from 3, 36%, and the rebound margin up over 8.5. So Bowdoin, never mind do they play well offensively, but they also shoot the basketball very well. We turn to the team leaders for tonight's game. Bowdoin really spreads it out. They don't have anyone that really dominates the game. Kate Kerrigan, their leading scorer, at 9.1 points per game. Beacons do have Grace Geary, who is back, just in a limited role coming off the bench at 12.3 points per game. Raven Kelsey shooting it at 41%. Geary also solid at the free throw line. Other efforts coming from Bowdoin, you can see they have some solid free throw shooting, and Petty has been an excellent three-point shooter at close to 54% per game this season. Bowdoin, the head coach, Adrienne Scheibels. She's in her 9th season at the helm with Bowdoin College up in Maine. Bowdoin, of course, like we talked about before, based in Brunswick, Maine, also the number 23 team in the country, according to D3Hoops.com. Best thing to say about this head coach, she's led them to consecutive Sweet 16s over the last 2 seasons. In her first season, Coach Scheibel led the Bowdoin Polar Bears to their 8th NESCAC title, and that was in her first season. She won a championship game. UMass Boston is under head coach Christina Baugh in her 2nd season, and of course she's just trying to get the Beacons back closer to that 500 mark at 8-11 overall on the season. We'll step aside one more time. We'll come back for the starting lineups and also the keys to the game between Bowdoin and UMass Boston. You're watching all the action on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Let's turn to the starting lineups for today's game. We'll start with the Bowdoin Polar Bears, like we told you, under head coach Adrienne Scheibels. They'll have Curley and Kerrigan in the backcourt with Norton, Caputi, and Campbell in the front court. And now for the UMass Boston starters. Tajay Burston, Katie Matthew, Maritza Scott, Katrina Edwards, and Raven Kelsey in the front court for the Beacons. Chantel Jordan and Grace Geary to come off the bench. Keys to the game for UMass Boston. Of course, the goal tonight is to end that 2-game losing streak. Got to get off to a better start. They trailed by 15 in the loss to Keene State the other day over the weekend. 15-point first half deficit. Cut it to 2 with 4 minutes left in regulation. Did not shoot the ball well from the free throw line nor from 3, shooting it at 31% on average this year. And they've got to make the most of every possession. One person to turn to, our player to watch today, it was Tajay Burston, leading the league in assists per game, assist to turnover ratio, and she's out on the floor a lot too, leading the team, and 7th in the league in minutes. We'll step aside for the national anthem and then be back for tip-off.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Basketball game between the visiting Bowdoin Polar Bears and your UMass Boston Beacons. Let's meet the next starters. First for the Polar Bears. Beacons and Polar Bears starters getting announced right now here at the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. The Beacons trying to close out this non-conference slate on a high note, 4-5 in league play, taking a break after 7 straight league games. They play host to the Bowdoin College Polar Bears, ranked number 23 in the country. We talked about this a little bit in the open. The only 2 in-region losses this season for Bowdoin College have come against Tufts University and Amherst College, both ranked number 1 and number 2 respectively in this week's D3Hoops.com national poll. Bowdoin coming off a conference win over Colby College, 71-30, outscoring them by 41. They shot 53% and held the Mules to 25% shooting. So this Bowdoin team, not only an offensive force, but also very poised defensively, holding teams to a very low shooting percentage and also to a low points per game total at 50.5 on the season. We talked about the Beacons, 10-point loss the other night to the Keene State Owls, down 15 at halftime, made it a 2-point game with about 4 minutes left. Here at the Clark Athletic Center, this is the final game of a 4-game homestand for Christina Baugh's squad. And they'll try to win this final non-conference game and look for the upset here tonight. The underdogs here at home. Like we talked about, Grace Geary averaging just over 12 points a game. She is back, coming off the bench. Still nursing a little bit from an injury. Raven Kelsey has steadied the ship in the starting lineup alongside Tajay Burston. Kelsey at 12 points a game, Burston at 7 points per game, and Chantel Jordan, the senior from Brockton, coming off the bench as well. Jordan averaging close to 11 points per game. Bowdoin College will wear the black uniforms with the white lettering with Bowdoin across the chest. Numbers in white. Most of the girls' shoes are white with the black socks. Beacons in the white uniforms with Beacons across the chest in blue. And the blue trim surrounding the white uniforms. To do the tip, it will be Katrina Edwards up against Emily Campbell in the middle for Bowdoin. Tip controlled by the Polar Bears, and they'll work here on the left side to start out tonight's game. Tonight's officials, James Reiser, Jenny Records, and Eric Ferris. Ball nearly poked away by Maritza Scott, the freshman starting. Off the bump inside, Caputi couldn't finish, deflected out of bounds, and possession to the Beacons. Now this is the first meeting between the two schools since 1993 when the Polar Bears defeated the Beacons 73-42, part of the Regis College tip-off tournament. And we talked about it before the game. Beacons getting off to better starts. They turned the ball over after Bowdoin lost it out of bounds. Kate Kerrigan, their highest point per game player to inbound from Wellesley, Massachusetts. Wellesley Hills, more specifically, she's to inbound. The junior gets it to Campbell, swivels it outside. The jumper good from Kerrigan. Burston getting harassed defensively, stepped over the line. Second turnover by the Beacons in the first 40 seconds of this one. Beacons this season averaging over 20 turnovers a game. Caputi nearly had it stripped by Maritza. Little shake and bake action here by Curley. Kicks it out. Three-pointer in and out. Burston the rebound. She speeds ahead for the Beacons and sets up shot. Scott lost the dribble. An outlet. Kelsey, three. Money. Kelsey has the touch. Junior from Boston at 5'9", buries a three to make it 3-2 UMass Boston. 90 seconds in. Little catch and shoot, runner good. Lydia Caputi, who averages close to 7 points a game from Brunswick, Maine. Same town as the Bowdoin campus. Kelsey with the jab step fake, steps into a jumper, too strong. And a foul downstairs against Katrina Edwards. Nope, pardon me, they'll give it to Maritza Scott, the freshman from Revere, Massachusetts. Off the ball foul. And here come the Polar Bears. Now Kerrigan touches the ball a ton, kicks it out. That three ball in and out from Curley. Grabbed by Burston. Gets it ahead to Matthew. The jumper is good. And the Beacons up one once again there. That's Katie Matthew, averaging just over 8 points a game for the Beacons this season from Coventry, Connecticut. Like we told you, Bowdoin, number 23 team in the country, according to D3Hoops.com. Drive to the basket by Kerrigan. Pardon, that's Curley from Plattsburgh, New York, and we'll see our first free throws of the contest. It's already the second foul on the Beacons. Christina Bosch sharing thoughts from the sideline, head coach in her second season with UMass Boston. Andrea Sufrandini, the assistant. Also Antonia Macklin. Pair of makes gives Bowdoin the lead. Another turnover by UMass Boston. That's the Beacons' third in these opening minutes. Must take care of the basketball, and we talked about Tajay Burston moments ago, leading the team in assists, also assist-to-turnover ratio. And another foul. This is Edwards' first foul, and the third on UMass Boston as a team. 2 away from the penalty, with still over 7 minutes to go in the first. First change for Bowdoin, Cordelia Stewart, sophomore center from Bangor, Maine, checks in. Campbell to the bench. Here's Curley. Drives the lane. Too many steps. What can be deceiving about Bowdoin, we talked about their ability to score the basketball, force teams to shoot at a very low percentage. Not accustomed to what many teams do, but Bowdoin also turns the ball over their fair share of times at 15 a game. Beacons looking for the press break. They get it over. Here comes Edwards. And a whistle against Bowdoin. This will be the first foul against the Polar Bears in the first. Caputi, the forward from Brunswick, takes the foul. Off the inbounds, Edwards, pardon, Kelsey, the step back three, couldn't get it to go, and a double dribble against Curley. Ball turned over to UMass Boston. Beacons are trying to snap a 2-game losing streak. Also close out a 4-game homestand with the victory They would go 2-2 on the homestand with the win here tonight. It's also the final non-conference game. Matthew off to catch. Buries a three. Well, she had it teed up after the dish from Burston. And the Beacons lead by 2. Coming up on 6.5 minutes to go in the first. Off the head fake, Kerrigan, and 3 seconds called inside against Bowdoin. Here comes Chantel Jordan off the bench for her first minutes. And Maritza Scott heads to the bench. Changes as well for Bowdoin. We see a couple of fresh faces. Sydney Hancock checks in, as well as Abigail Kelly. Kelly averages 8.5 points per game off the bench. She's from Bombay, New York. Jordan fresh off the bench, looking to break the pressure, and then it gets turned over. Here comes Kerrigan all the way down to the lane. Give her 2. Send her to the free throw line for one more. Burston gets her first foul. And we're tied at 8 with 6:25 left in the first. Lots of stoppages early with fouls back and forth. 3-point play is complete. Now Kelly back in the game, checking in for Lydia Caputi. This is Jordan bringing up the ball for the Beacons. Shoves it off to Burston, and she'll set up the offense. Burston hands it off to Matthew, looking inside to Edwards. Backing down, Edwards, the spin around, rattles home. Edwards' second basket. Beacons back up 1. Quick shot inside, rolls off the iron. Heading back to the Beacons after the miss by Bowdoin. The success this Bowdoin program has had is not just a one-year wonder. They've done this for a long time under head coach Adriana Shibes. Adrian Schleibels. She's gone to 7 NCAA tournaments with this team. That's a 3, drained from deep, Abigail Kelly. And Bowdoin back up 2. Scheibels, the last 2 years, has gotten this Polar Bears program to the Sweet 16, and the Beacons turn it over back to the Polar Bears. With 5:10 left in the first quarter. Sydney Hancock, backup point guard from Casco, Maine. They weave it around the perimeter. Fresh off the bench, Taylor Choate. Dishes underneath. This is Siflin. Bowdoin goes very deep. They played all their starters in the victory over Colby College this past weekend. A traveling violation against Abigail Kelly to stop the clock at 4:48. Bowdoin up 2, Beacons hanging tough with the number 23 team in the country. We'll step aside and return back for more action on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. Beacons trailing the Bowdoin College Polar Bears 12-10. 4:48 remaining in the first quarter. Bowdoin showing a lot of pressure in the backcourt. Beacons have been tested early to break that pressure. Burston gets it over the line. Matthew has it corralled. Out to Kelsey. Burston does a great job of slowing things down, not letting the game get too fast. She's backing down the defender. That's Choate, Taylor Choate. There's 7 to shoot. Ball deflected out of bounds. Round of applause on the sideline, particularly from head coach Adrian Scheibels for the Bowdoin Polar Bears. Beacons have 6 to shoot. Matthew has to heave it in, intercepted by Kerrigan on the near side of the floor. And here comes Bowdoin. Aggressive drive, the kick out. And they set it back up. This is Taylor Choate from Nashua, New Hampshire. Attended Nashua North High School. And Jordan gets hit with the personal foul. Beacons have already hit the limit, 5 personal fouls. So this sends Choate to the free throw line, who averages 6 points a game. Well, we told you earlier how Bowdoin is very, very deep. On the season, 11 players have appeared in all 17 games, and all 16 have played in at least 12 games. Bowdoin has played in 17 games total, so it shows they've played a lot of players very deep. You even look at the numbers, points per game-wise, there's a bunch of players who are averaging at least 4 points a game. And 4 points might not seem like all that much. Still a nice effort to get all of those players in, making contributions on the scoreboard. Matthew tried to get it inside to Michaela Illibode, the center from Malden, Massachusetts. Off the catch, lost it. And the Beacons turn it over again to Bowdoin. With under 4 minutes left in the first, down just 4, you feel like they've given some possessions away here early. Bowdoin certainly can make you pay. Choate driving, trying to feed it underneath, and a whistle going against the Polar Bears. Choate just picked up her 3rd. Ariana Rivera checks in, 5'4" sophomore guard from Burlington. Rivera gets it over the timeline. Burston taking her time like we've seen so far. Here's Kelsey, an outlet to Rivera, pull-up jumper, good. Rivera, fresh off the bench, cashes in a free throw line jumper. It's a 2-point game. A response, though, in the corner. Lauren Petit, the junior from Medfield, Mass. Bowdoin's got the largest lead of the game, 5 points, 17-12. Illibode posting up. Kelsey gets it to her. Around the swarm, Illibode can't finish. Up ahead, here comes the Bowdoin squad. Kelly finds an open Choate, and she knocks down a 3. Timeout. Christina Baugh and the Beacons. Well, on this weekday night, Bowdoin has come to play. 20 points already in this first quarter with 2:38 left in the opening stanza. Still lots of time. And the Polar Bears are out to a quick start, up by 8 with 2:38 left. Well, Bowdoin is feeling good about its shooting. They won by 41 points, a conference win in NESCAC action on Saturday night. A win over Colby College. They shot 53% from the floor, held the Mules to 25% shooting. Lauren Petit, who you saw a moment ago, hit a 3. 4 for 5 and 3-pointers in the win. Had 14 points to lead all Bowdoin scorers. Abigail Kelly had 10. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, in 14 minutes, the most impressive part. Choate poked it away, and a whistle called against Jordan on the deflection. I think Jordan gasped. She turned thinking the foul might be against Choate, but not the case. That's Jordan's second foul. And Choate for the second time tonight at the free throw line. Ten-point game. And Christina Baugh calls another timeout for the Beacons. That's her second timeout called in this quarter alone. And with Bowdoin up 10, she thinks she has to clean things up a little bit more here for her squad. 2:27 to play in the first quarter. Beacons in the league at 4-5. Like we told you, this is a non-league game tonight. Bowdoin coming in. This is the final non-conference game of the season for UMass Boston after 7 straight league games. Bowdoin still showing pressure. 3-quarters press. Ariana Rivera crosses half court. Gets it to Burston. Well, the Beacons have had some good looks offensively, but just having trouble taking care of the basketball. Credit to Bowdoin's pressure defensively. That's the third foul on Bowdoin as a team. Burston grabs it off the catch. Burston surveys the D, going one-on-one. Jordan to 3. Skying in for the rebound, Abigail Kelly. She can handle the ball too. Kelly, a chest pass right in the breadbasket, finished off by Allie Sifflin. Sifflin is senior from Rye Brook, New York, at 6 feet. Kelly's 5'8". She's a little taller for her listing here, but she moved the ball up the floor awfully well. Illibode stuck in traffic. Swivel the bounce pass outside to Burston, but it's mishandled and turned over by the Beacons. 1:37 remaining in the first. And Bowdoin with the change. Hannah Graham checks in. And Abigail Kelly to the bench. Rivera checks in for the Beacons. And Chantel Jordan, who came off the bench today, heads to the bench now. Still no sign of Grace Geary in this game so far for the Beacons. Curley whips it to the corner. Curley got it back. They keep moving it. And a jumper in the corner off the mark from Hannah Graham, a sophomore from Presque Isle, Maine. That's her first minutes of the night. And off the drive, Alicia Quinones called for... Oh, she gets fouled, pardon me. Choate's second. And the fourth on Bowdoin, so another change for the Polar Bears off the bench. It's Kate Kerrigan, the leading scorer, coming back in. Fresh 30 for the Beacons. Burston's played the entire first quarter. Leads the team in minutes, ranked 7th in the league at 32 per game. Quinones finds Kelsey. Jabbing, hits Illibode, who backs down into pressure. Illibode spins away from it. Nearly tipped it home. She tries to tack it up, but she gets in the thick of it. A jump ball is called with 52.7 seconds remaining in the first. Bowdoin right now doubling UMass Boston 24-12. Kelsey one-on-one. Still stuck. Kelsey goes up, got it deflected, and lost it out of bounds. Good defense from Lydia Caputi, bodying up on Raven Kelsey of the Beacons. They'll try for a 2-for-1 opportunity. Front rim jump shot by Graham. Beacons let it trickle out of bounds. They'll get the ball back here. Beacons with more changes. Maritza Scott back in. And Katie Matthew checks in. So right now for the Beacons, Matthew, Rivera, Burston, Quinones, and Maritza Scott. A very small lineup here for Coach Christina Baugh. Ball gets slapped on the floor, down to the deck. Great hustle out of Hannah Graham, the sophomore, who's towards the bottom of the depth chart in terms of the rotation for Bowdoin. And now the Polar Bears can hold for the final shot of the first. Here's Kerrigan. Stops on the brakes. Kicks it out. This is a three. Curley short. Quinones gets it to Burston. 2 seconds. Got to heave it up there. And she'll let the clock run out at the backcourt free throw line. End of the first quarter at the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. Bowdoin 24, UMass Boston 12. We'll step aside and come back for the second quarter, and you're watching it live on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
UMass Boston women's basketball trying to end a 2-game losing skid. Down by 12 to the Bowdoin Polar Bears, 24-12. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Beacons Broadcast Network. Any listeners or any viewers tonight from Bowdoin College, number 23 team in the country, showing its touch here tonight. That triple off the mark from Kerrigan, miscorralled by Matthew, and the Beacons off to the races. Well, we told you about Bowdoin's success. 7 NCAA tournaments under head coach Adrian Scheibels. Great run. Won an NESCAC championship her freshman season. Quinones collects 2 points to make it a 10-point game. They've been to 2 straight Sweet 16s in NCAA tournament action. That's in Division III, of course. Little step around jumper. That one's clean from Lydia Caputi. 26-14, back up to 12 for Bowdoin. Jordan in the game. Quinones in the corner, it's Matthew. And then Maritza Scott down in the corner. Beacons turn it over with about 90 seconds into the second quarter. First half mark is approaching. Skitters off the shoot top, picked up by Bowdoin. Polar Bears have 10 to shoot in the hands of Marley Curley. Off the spin moves, hits Kerrigan. They keep swinging it. Now a corner 3 ball, in and out from Rachel Norton. Back up strong though, Kerrigan. 2 plus the harm. Now it's the largest lead of the game for Bowdoin, 14 points. Burston gets punished for her second. Chatting on the sideline with head coach Christina Baugh. Also, some of the officials, including Jenny Records. Lead is 15 for the Polar Bears. Ball got stripped once more on the breakout. Abigail Kelly finds a girl in stride. That's Caputi. Now it's 31-14. Bowdoin. Burston rushes to the corner, got it back, she'll let it go from three and make it from three. Much needed to stop the bleeding for UMass Boston. Burston's been a leader, 15 points, a career high in the loss to Keene State over the weekend. Needed all 15, scored 11 in the fourth quarter, part of the Beacons' comeback. Just no pressure defensively on the drive by Norton. And then Caputi went back up, got fouled, and still finished. With 7:30 to go in this first half. Caputi, a slight bend to the knees, in and out. And deflected out of bounds. Bowdoin right now full of energy. Must have had a pleasant bus ride from Brunswick to Boston. But the Polar Bears look hungry here tonight in Beaconville. Step away Jay. That jumper short from Kelly. And a jump ball results in Beacons basketball with 7:23 now to go in the first half. Edwards checks in for Quinones. Beacons get it to Scott. Back out. Matthews three, too strong. And we're going back the other way. Marissa Scott called for the foul. That foul is number 3 on the Beacons as a team in this second quarter. Beacons hit the penalty awfully early in the first quarter. Choate is open. Got fouled shooting a 3. Matthew gets tagged with the personal. 33-17. And that's the second on Matthew. 3 free throws coming here now for Choate. Now 1 for 2 on this trip. Well, to say the least, Choate, a sophomore, averaging 6 a game, has had a nice first half. And Burston gets slapped in the backcourt, so this is a foul against Hancock, senior guard from Casco, Maine. The lead is 18 for Bowdoin. 6:43 left. Illibode stuck down low. Choate as well as Kelly showing pressure. Burston triggers a 3 and swishes it through. This leads to a timeout for Bowdoin. And we will keep it here with the deficit 15 for the Beacons. 6:33 left in the first half. UMass Boston, like we told you, has lost their last 2. And trying to close out a 4-game homestand. Last couple of games. Beacons earned a win on January 21st over Western Connecticut State, 66-59. Fell to UMass Dartmouth, 73-68 on January 25th, 6 nights ago. And then Keene State, like we told you over the weekend, 66-55. That was a stretch of 7 straight league games. The last non-league game for the Beacons was a loss at home to Bridgewater State by 9 points here at home. So after the 32nd timeout, Christina Baugh counters the Bowdoin squad with a full court press of their own. Matthew and Burst in the pressure, and they break the line anyway. Nice cut by Choate. Still finished. No, got the miss back. Nearly finished. Kelly whips it around, top of the key. They get it to Hancock. Kerrigan swerving back outside, looped back, dumped underneath. Nicely done offensively by Bowdoin. Allie Silfen with the finish. Silfen averages close to 5 points a game. Senior at 6 feet with a pretty touch inside. Largest lead was 18, it's 17 now. Illibode continues to get double teamed in the corner. Rivera short from 3. And a whistle coming from the far side of the floor. I think they'll punish. They'll get Silfen for a push in the back. Illibode goes to the bench. Beacons put Raven Kelsey back in the game with 5.5 left in the first half. Burston wants to clear Kelsey to the baseline. They get Rivera open inside. Couldn't finish it. And on the break, here comes Bowdoin. Kerrigan bounces it to Choate. Couldn't finish. Choate nearly gathered a miss. And Hancock called for a push in the back. Little pitch and catch between Rivera and Burston. Edwards, little tip of the shoulder. Bumps it off the glass. First basket for Edwards. Beacons have cut it down to 15 with 4:40 left in the first half. Little jump stop by Hancock. An open Kelly. That's a 3. She has buried a couple of threes today on the Beacons defense. Has made them pay for a lack of tightness on the defensive rotations. Kelsey, after shoving her right shoulder down, calling for an offensive foul. That's the first on Kelsey. And the second, part in the third on the Beacons. Check that, the 5th on the Beacons. So next foul defensively against UMass Boston means free throws for Bowdoin. Still 4 minutes left in this half. Emily Campbell, the starting center. Her first action since beginning of the game, she checked out first. Choate, runner in the lane, too strong. And ball ricocheted out of bounds, heading the Beacons' way. Under 4 minutes left. One-on-one pressure coming here from Marley Curley on Tajay Burston. Edwards posting up. Matthew bounces it to her. Pull up Jay. In and out. The miss smothered down by Bowdoin. Polar Bears work it. Choate found some room, tried to hit Campbell. Kept in play by Ariana Edwards. Kept the dribble alive. Ariana Rivera. Nicely done. Matthew on the outlet to Kelsey. Had it swiped. Bowdoin to slow it down with up to 3 minutes left in the first half. Little head fake by Kelly. Floater in the lane. That one a little bit too much on it. Now Burston wants to push. Rivera, 15-footer. Barely hit the rim. Baseball pass ahead to Campbell. She doesn't finish. Can't get it to fall. Now this loose ball picked up. They try to throw on the other way, but out of reach for Burston. So the ball back to Bowdoin with 2:38 to go in the first half. Well, both teams showing off their long balls in this first half. Bowdoin went long, turned it over. Then the Beacons tried to throw long, they turned it over. Jump shot from Campbell, in and out. Kelsey collects the miss. Here's Jordan. Kelsey with a fake and an elbow coming her way. She got fouled. And that foul is on Hassan. First free throws of the game for UMass Boston. Kelsey nails the first one. Burston comes out. And Grace Geary has checked in for the first time. So Christina Baugh giving Burston the green light. 16-point game. Well, Burston's actually getting the yellow light. She's got to slow down. She's going to the bench. Campbell off the pass. Tear drops it in. Under 2 minutes now to go. Beacons were down 12 at the end of the first quarter. Now down 18 with under 2 minutes left here in the first half. Geary, a solid bounce pass. Quinones trying to shovel it left hand. Pass got stolen for a moment. Bowdoin still got to break the timeline. And a whistle on the far side of the court. And the shot clock was reset. .91 seconds remaining in the first half. Both teams in the bonus. The Beacons down by 18. Grace Geary getting her first minutes of the game. Caputi picked up the dribble. Sam Roy off the bench, kicks it out. 3-ball money from Marley Curley. Now it's the largest lead of the game, 21. Geary finds Edwards, and her scoop shot is home. Back under 20 for the Beacons, and a minute left in the first. Off the catch again, this one no good. The miss corralled by Hassan, kicked out. That three, no good, coming from Petty. Jordan's on the break. Quinones trying to dump it back to Jordan. And a foul going against Bowdoin on the baseline. This will result in free throws for Quinones.
That's her first personal team limit. Alicia Quinones shooting 2.
Left-handed release, nice smooth finish.
Checking in for the Beacons, number 13, Kiana Prince. She replaces Katrina Edwards.
Couple of makes, narrows the deficit to 17. There's about a 9-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. This is Sam Roy off the bench, a wide open three. Did not fall down for Petit. Roy on the break after the Beacons turned it over. Bowdoin can hold for the final shot. Up strong, that was Caputi. She'll receive two at the line. Both teams with multiple substitutions. Kayana Prince, pardon me, had some minutes there a second ago for the Beacons, from sophomore from Waltham, Mass. Caputi's got another try at the line. It was short and deflected out of bounds off Bowdoin, so the Beacons can hold for the final shot with 12.9 seconds left in the second quarter. Geary brings up the basketball, has yet to score. Got her first minutes off the bench in this second quarter. Geary trying to weave it between her legs. Get it off to Matthew. She lets it go. And it knocks off the backboard. First half is in the books at the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. And the Beacons down by 18 to the Bowdoin Polar Bears. We'll step aside and come back for our halftime coverage, and you're watching it all on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Beacons down by 18 at halftime against the number 23 ranked Bowdoin College Polar Bears in the D3Hoops.com rankings. For right now, we'll turn to the top 10 plays from winter break here on Beaconville.
Save, and you're right. Brett Mason keeping that. That thing was trickling in.
A little bit behind it. Superdini for Timberland. Timberland, nothing on the shot. Rebound tipped home by Daly.
Full of trickery, nursery, rhyming, hickory, dickory, blowing that sour, the hood call it hickory, biggie, puffy, buster, victory. Don't worry about the past, 'cause that was yesterday. I'ma put it on the line, 'cause it's couldn't style it. Unless you was a stewardess, you won't know what to do with this. First I took the time out, then I put the time in. Money ain't everything, it's more about the timing. So I got the Audemars, flawless diamonds. In other words, that's called perfect timing. I feel like a favor, I feel like a savior. The clock in my neck, I feel like a flavor. I go so hard, with Lindsay scoring up
Imagine yourself at one of fewer than 300 prestigious research universities in the country, located on a peninsula overlooking the Boston Harbor, just minutes from downtown Boston. Imagine what it would be like to be a student here.
I imagine myself succeeding in the business world.
I imagine taking advantage of all the clinical
Imagine yourself at one of fewer than 300 prestigious research universities in the country, located on a peninsula overlooking the Boston Harbor, just minutes from downtown Boston. Imagine what it would be like to be a student here.
I imagine myself succeeding in the business world.
I imagine taking advantage of all the clinical opportunities in Boston.
Want to go into the police force for a little bit and ultimately end up either working for the Department of Homeland Security or the Department of ICE.
I imagine studying biology, working hand in hand with the professor.
There are many reasons students are attracted to UMass Boston. Just imagine the opportunity to participate in research, live and learn in Boston, and to experience true diversity.
Our researchers have expanded the research enterprise admirably over the last decade. They have engaged in important environmental stewardship. They are at the frontiers of the life sciences and public health.
Being in Boston is a huge advantage, not just to someone like me who's a researcher, but actually to our students.
I started working for Dr. McCoska since my sophomore year, my ending sophomore year, and now I'm going to my senior year, so it's been a very nice journey.
School for the Environment is becoming really one of the premier, or if not the premier, coastal environmental sciences programs in the country. The natural laboratory is 5 minutes away for us. The undergraduates and the graduate students can jump on the T or walk out the door or drive 5 minutes and grab sediment samples and vegetation and talk to watershed associations. It's really a wonderful opportunity for our students here with this location.
UMass Boston shares the peninsula with the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate and the John F. Kennedy Library and Museum. Just imagine an internship with one of these organizations or a Fortune 500 company.
There's no location like UMass Boston.
It's so close to the Innovation District, the 4-Point Channel. You can just hop on the red line and get there.
I like the fact that Boston is near the water.
I was a legislative intern for Senator Elizabeth Warren in Washington, D.C. And I was there, in the Senate. It made me feel good about myself. It made me feel like I could do so much more. There's so much more out there and ahead of me.
After my internship at Ernst & Young this past summer, I was offered a full-time position to join their risk advisory practice, where I'll be doing part-time security consulting and part-time risk advisory consulting. And I never would have had this opportunity had it not been for UMass Boston.
Imagine what it will be like to interact with students from 150 countries.
You meet people from everywhere. That's the best thing about the school.
Here there's a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world.
We also have students here at UMass Boston who come to us from Texas, from Alabama, from Georgia, from California. And I often ask them, what brings you here? And it's always Boston. And then when they come here, they realize, UMass Boston.
I decided to come to UMass Boston from the West Coast because, look at it. We've got the ocean, it's beautiful. I'm getting a really great education at great value. I couldn't be happier to be here.
This is what the world looks like. It's here at UMass Boston.
And now, imagine doing all of this at a campus that is buzzing with more than 100 clubs and organizations, 18 NCAA athletic teams, and concerts and films galore. Whether you're interested in studying abroad or doing service work over alternative spring break, we have something for everyone.
Starting my first semester here, I was assistant coordinator of Casa Latina. Second semester, I was promoted to coordinate my own center, the Student Wellness Center.
Being on the track and field team here is the greatest decisions I've made besides coming to UMass Boston.
And we're back at the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. The Beacons down by 18 to the Bowdoin College Polar Bears. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for this broadcast. Let's turn to the halftime team stats on both sides. Bowdoin just having its way throughout the course of this one. The Polar Bears shot 42%. They got 36 shots up in a total of 20 minutes, which is pretty impressive. They shot 40 36% from 3. Got to the free throw line plenty. The rebound number is the same, but go all the way down to the bottom, the turnover number. Beacons turned it over 16 times in that first half. Bowdoin just 6. Take the turnovers out of it, Beacons are really right in this thing. Field goal percentage the same, rebounds the same, the assist numbers are the same, but Beacons have just turned it over too much tonight. We'll look at the team leaders now on both sides as to why this game is sitting at where it is right now. Caputi has 9 points for Bowdoin. That leads all scorers. Caputi coming into this game averaging just under 7 points a game, so she already has her season average. Taylor Cho off the bench, averaging 6 points a game as a sophomore from Nashua. She has 9 points at the end of 20 minutes. Katrina Edwards for the Beacons and Tajay Burston each have 6 points as well for UMass Boston. And we'll take a look at some of the highlights now from that first half between Bowdoin and UMass Boston. Here's Kelsey, an outlet to Rivera, pull-up jumper, good. Comes the Bowdoin squad. Kelly finds it open. She can handle the ball too. Kelly, a chest pass right in the breadbasket, finished off Bubbles. Great run, won an NESCAC championship. Outs from Rachel Norton. Back up strong though, Killigan. 2 Bears. Ball got stripped once more on the breakout. Abigail Kelly finds a girl in stride as Kelly showing pressure. Burston triggers a 3 and swishes it through. This leads to a timeout for Bowdoin. Back outside, looped back, dumped underneath. Nicely done offensively by Burston. Edwards, little tip of the shoulder. Yellow light, she's got to slow down, she's going to the bench. Campbell off the pass. Tier drops it in. Under 2 minutes now to go. Beacons were down 12 at the end of the first quarter. Now down 18 with under 2 minutes left here in the first half. Geary, a solid bounce pass. Quinones trying to shovel it left hand. Pat. Sam Roy off the bench, kicks it out. 3-ball money. UMass Boston down by 18 at the half to Bowdoin College. We want to take a look now at the highlights from the men's basketball team's tough loss in overtime to Keene State this past Saturday. The final score was 85-80.
All I ever wanted was to see you smiling. All I ever wanted was to make you mine. I know that I love you, oh baby, why don't you see that all I ever wanted was you and me. All I ever wanted was to see you smiling. All I ever wanted was to make you mine. I know that I love you, oh baby, why don't you see that all I ever wanted was you and me.
Now give me a beat.
So men's basketball went down over the weekend by 5 points. Now let's look ahead. The men's team should be in action awfully soon here on campus. The women's team, of course, finishing out this non-conference slate today, also a 4-game homestand. So one of the next 3 on the road this weekend, I should say, at Rhode Island College for a 1 p.m. tilt. And then next week, 2 home games for the women's basketball team. February 8th against Southern Maine and February 11th against Plymouth State. That's a doubleheader. The men's team will also play that night. Let's now look ahead to It Gets Better on the UMass Boston campus. And we are set for the second half between Bowdoin College and UMass Boston basketball. Beacons down by 18 at halftime to the number 23 team in the country, according to D3Hoops.com. So Bowdoin is no slouch of a program coming from Brunswick, Maine for tonight's non-conference affair. 13 to shoot for Campbell. Little dump and a scoop shot attempt, no good, coming from Caputi. Beacons coming in full throttle, rushing over the half-court line. Kelsey, Edwards, Scott, Matthew, and Burston on the floor. Burston a slight head fake, the floater too strong. And the miss collected by Bowdoin. Curley lost the dribble, lets it go. Kelsey had a fingertip on it, and she lost it out of bounds. Nice second effort by Rachel Norton, a senior from Braintree, Massachusetts. And off the inbounds play, Bowdoin to get free throws. So some other highs from that first half. Caputi had 9. She's at the line. Could be the first player to double figures tonight with the make here. So Caputi's got 10. Averaging just under 7 points a game coming in. Caputi from Brunswick, Maine. Same town as the campus of Bowdoin College. Lead up to 19. 1-for-2 trip. And this foul is against Campbell. Starting center, Campbell not in the projected starting 5. Campbell from York, Maine. Senior at 6 feet. Off the head fake. Matthew turns her back. Has an open Kelsey. Knocks down a 3. It's down to 16 for the Beacons. UMass Boston trying to end this 2-game losing streak. Taking a break from league play after 7 straight league games. Nice little jump pass inside. Norton finding Campbell. Bowdoin just has so much patience on the offensive end. They let plays develop, make the extra pass, and for the most part, it's resulted in nice plays as Edwards collects a deuce. But it's paid dividends for them to take their time offensively. Takes a lot of discipline, but there is some experience on this team. Bowdoin's already played almost every player on the roster. Jumper in the corner. That's a three coming from Caputi. She's having a great night for Bowdoin. Yeah, Bowdoin's already played all 16 of its players tonight. Lead is 19 for the Polar Bears. Kerrigan, the team's leading scorer coming in, has 8 points, had 8 the first half. Campbell open in the corner, finds a cutter. Tough shot, couldn't finish. That was Norton again. Norton's open, takes a three. Bopped out of bounds, and it's heading the Beacons' way with 6:54 to go in the third. Silfen and Abigail Kelly checked in. Silfen had 4 points in the first half. Kelly on 2 of 4 shooting had 6 points, also 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Bowdoin's very deep, though. They play a lot of players. Everybody gets minutes. It marks as Kelsey hits Scott. Kelsey gets it back, swarmed in traffic, and a jump ball. Possession stays with the Beacons. This is the 13th game out of 18 this season for Bowdoin, in which all 16 of its active players have played in the game. Shows the trust that Adrienne Scheibels has in this team. Her 9th season generates a roster that can play the entirety of a basketball game. Kelsey with the offensive foul. With 6:30 to go in the third. Beacons playing some zone defense. Kerrigan to the basket. Doesn't get the touch. And off the loose ball. Kick ball is called. Beacons keep it. Burston got tripped up. Bowdoin still showing some pressure here in the backcourt. Now, to be fair, they're playing most of their reserve players here, so this is a case where the coach wants to get some reps for the more inexperienced players, but that stat we just told you, Bowdoin plays its 16 players on the roster quite often. Beacons turn it over again. That was the story of the first half. Beacons turned it over 16 times in that first half. Just 6 Bowdoin turnovers. The rebounds were the same. The shooting percentage, believe it or not, was the same. Beacons went 10 for 24 from the floor. Bowdoin 15 of 36. And that's where it stands out. Bowdoin had 12 more shots in that first half. Same amount of rebounds. Bowdoin had 6 offensive rebounds. Beacons just 1, but 16 overall total. But like we said, 16 to 6 turnovers. Beacons had the 16. Just after a little clock violation, clock delay, everything figured out. Under 6 minutes left now in the third. And a foul called underneath. Off the ball against Bowdoin. Second on the Polar Bears. Foul going against Silfen, pardon. And this is team foul number 3 against the Polar Bears. Beacons down by 19. We're almost midway through the third quarter. Rivera off the head fake. Edwards, tough shot. Couldn't get it to drop. Hancock attempting to outlet. Beacons on the break. Kelsey drifts around one defender, and her scooper with the right hand falls. Kelsey made the first basket of the game for UMass Boston. It was a 3. That time she gets 2. 52-35. Bowdoin on top. Runner in the lane by Choate is short. Beacons want to move. Rivera sees a lane, finishes it off. And now it's a 15-point game. Bowdoin takes a timeout. It's Adrian Scheibels taking the timeout. That results in a timeout on the floor. 52-37. Beacons have narrowed the gap to 15. We'll step aside and come back for the rest of the third quarter on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Come on, Jake.
As usual, she wins it. A chance in front. Her shot is in the net. Crystal laid it. Yet another goal.
Please make a gift to the Beacon Athletic Fund today. We want you on our team.
UMass Boston on a mini run here, down by 15. The deficit was 18 at the end of the first quarter. Bowdoin's got it up to as many as 22 in this contest tonight. But now the Beacons down by 15. A couple of forced turnovers, taking advantage of Bowdoin's mistakes. Let's see if UMass Boston can make a run. They'll show full court pressure against the Polar Bears. This Bowdoin team, experienced, very deep, explains the number 23 ranking in the country. Now, as you can imagine, Bowdoin's played a ton of teams in the state of Massachusetts, part of the NESCAC conference, making the trip from Brunswick, Maine. The only 2 losses they have this year in state are against Amherst and Tufts. Rivera driving to the basket, lost her handle, up ahead, tough shot, Bursting got all ball, and Petty couldn't finish. But now it's Beacons basketball with 4:20 left in the third. Christina Ball loving the attention to detail here. Another timeout. I think we'll keep it here. We'll take a break for now. We'll come back for the rest of the third right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
Couple of timeouts back to back here. First the coach's timeout by Bowdoin, and then the media timeout. So we have 4:22 left in this third quarter. Beacons down by 15, putting a little game pressure on Bowdoin. And that's, of course, coming with the ranking of number 23 in the country, D3Hoops.com with the ranking. Come into this game, there's pressure to not only take care of business, but do it handedly. Beacon showing some poise as Rivera triggered an open 3, couldn't finish. And here comes Bowdoin. 3-pointer, that's a big one. Allie Silfen back up to 18. That's a huge make for Bowdoin to stop this UMass Boston run. Burston wiggles off the screen, hits Kelsey off the high screen. Couple of head fakes. This is Rivera trying to curl around the pressure. And a foul called against Abigail Kelly. That is the fourth against Bowdoin. One more. Beacons in the bonus for the final 3.5 minutes or so. That's, of course, if the foul comes anytime soon. Rivera on the spin around. Kisses it off the glass. Down to 16. If the Beacons really want to make this a game, they've got to make it to probably about 12 or 10 at the end of the third quarter. We'll see. Pass deflected by Kelsey. Results in a Bowdoin turnover. Burston accelerates. Open. Nope. Not a three. Off to Burston. Too strong. Good look, though. Great extra pass by Matthew. Bowdoin wants to slow things up. Sidney Hancock, the senior point guard. Here's Choate. Little baby Jay. No. And too much mustard on that jump shot, so basketball back to UMass Boston. 2:45 left in the third quarter. Beacons were down by 15 at halftime to Keene State College over the weekend. Made it a 2-point game with 4 minutes left. Now it's a 3-on-1 here. Bounce pass to Choate. Finding the cutter. Kerrigan with the easy lay-in. Off the Beacons turnover, it's 18. Now the Beacons had a steady comeback to make that a basketball game. They'd have to get to work quickly here tonight. Kelsey, hesitation, lays it up with the left. That slight up fake, tried to draw the foul. Good defensive maturity by Bowdoin. Roy trying to go inside. Poked away. This is Edwards on the break. Kelsey outlets to Burston. They set up the offense. Down 16 with 1:45 to go in the third. On the give and go, Rivera turns it over. Bowdoin wants to run. Kerrigan dribbles behind the back. And a foul against UMass Boston in the front court. Burston gets her third. Off the inbound, Roy on the outlet. Beacons whistled for another foul. Now both teams with 4 team fouls. Here comes Matthew, gutted off the deflection. Illibode had it snuffed away. Here comes Kerrigan. Roy to her assistance. Roy picked up the dribble, shovels it inside. The little jumper, no good for Stewart. And the ball coming back the Beacons' way. Stewart called for an offensive foul. Scott at the line, freshman. Couldn't finish the first one. And the second one good. 15-point game like we saw a moment ago. found some room, banks it off the glass, 2 and the foul. They give her a chance for a 3-point play. Didn't necessarily see the contact on her, but when she jerked her head around, the official gave her the basket, and she's got a chance to capitalize and make it a 3-point play. Gets the friendly roll, 60 points for Bowdoin. Still a minute left in the third. Here's Chantel Jordan. Uses that pivot foot, hits Grace Geary, playing sparingly tonight. Had it stolen away. Kerrigan's on the break. Kerrigan got fouled, and Geary shoves her down to the deck. 41.5 seconds. Now I think the officials are getting together here to see if this is a flagrant or some sort here. So just to push in the back on Geary. Nothing after that. Well, Geary certainly making her presence felt, getting her minutes in the end of the third quarter here. Fighting back from injury, getting some minutes in this third quarter. And off the miss, Matthew gets it ahead to Geary and lost it out of bounds. 37.9 seconds, so Bowdoin can probably hold for the final shot, or at least get a good look here and have the Beacons get the basketball back with under 10 seconds. Jordan putting pressure on Sam Roy. Nice dish inside, the finish by Stewart. Beacons had the final 13 seconds to get a look. Geary got it ahead but turned it over. Daylight for Caputi. And it's back up to 22. Final seconds tick down. 3 quarters in the books at the Clark Athletic Center here in Boston. Beacons down by 22, down 18 at halftime. We'll step aside and see if they're in for a big comeback in the fourth quarter. This is the Beacons Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Start of the fourth quarter at the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. Beacons down by 22. Matches the largest lead of the game for Bowdoin. They keep slithering the ball around the perimeter. Polar Bears working it. And a whistle underneath. Shot clock never started, so that means they'll put 18 on the clock for Bowdoin. Of course, with 18 seconds in the books of the fourth quarter. So Beacons to inbound from underneath. Pardon, the Polar Bears to inbound underneath. And now we'll get a check at the table. Coach Baugh showing her disagreement. Now they put 12 seconds on the clock, not 18. 30 minus 18 is 12. Curley finds Kerrigan, steps into a jumper, and finishes. Largest lead of the game for Bowdoin, it's 24. Matthew down the timeline, turned her back, hit an open Scott. Back out to Chantel Jordan. Jordan, the step away, Jay, no good. Rebound is down to Kerrigan. Got to the head, Bowdoin still working it. Hancock lost it off the fingertips, regathers, and she got fouled. Well, it was at the end of last week when Brockton's own Chantel Jordan, who comes out of the game now, Brockton high school player Chantel Jordan, named the top defender just from her stats for the Beacons. Well, she was tabbed the top defensive player by her head coach. Jordan, a former Enterprise All-Scholastic and 2013 Brockton High graduate. Coach Boss said she's having a great season, having a breakout senior year, defending, offensive rebounding, making jump shots. Has not been her day entirely, as Maritza Scott finishes a layup to make it 22 points again, the deficit. Well, Jordan averaged just over 16 minutes a game as a freshman. Started 11 games and then appeared in 23 as a sophomore. Full-time starter last season, averaging just over 5 points a game in 28 contests. Maddie Hassett, a freshman from South Portland, Maine, squeezes it in for two. Bowdoin back up by 24 with 8 minutes left. And Coach Boss said she's proven to be our best defensive player. Always guards the best offensive player on the other team. Coach Boss says her speed is a factor. Great speed. Understands angles. And speed obviously helps her, but there is up and down speed and lateral speed. She has both of them. So Coach Boss very complimentary of her senior guard from the Brockton area. And the three things that Baugh had mentioned were positives about her game this year. She goes on to say, we tried to tell her to focus on three things for this season. Be a great defender, shoot the mid-range shot, get offensive rebounds. She's had some great success. And on top of it, the most noticeable thing, I think, from a teammate's standpoint, she has to be a good teammate. Number one rule in the program, be a good teammate on and off the floor, and she's done that very well. So some good news. That article coming in the wickedlocal.com section. Jim Fenton with the article. Brockton's Chantel Jordan, a key player at UMass Boston, has helped the Beacons to a record just under 500. If they come off with the win today, they'd be 2 games under 500. Beacons in jeopardy of falling to 4 games under. Three-pointer from Hannah Graham, no good. Ariana Rivera wants to push it. And this ball gets flickered out of bounds off of Rivera herself. Bowdoin to have possession in just a moment here. Another offensive rebound. Roy has it. Roy got it back. No look pass to the corner. Jumper rattles home. Abigail Kelly. Bowdoin's got 70 points with almost 6.5 minutes to go. Largest lead of the game, it's 26. Burst in a lob to Illibode. And a foul against Roy. Oh, check that. They'll give it to, Olivia Ware, the foul. She is a freshman from Westwood, Massachusetts. Attended Westwood High School. Had less than a minute of action in that first half. Ariana Rivera with a quick 2. 70-46 with almost 6 minutes remaining in regulation. Cho, a wide open 3. The miss corralled by Bowdoin. No look, back in the corner. Kelly for 3, no. Illibode lets it float out of bounds, stays with Bowdoin. Well, it seems like after every loose ball, anytime Bowdoin has a second chance opportunity, the Polar Bears are greeting each other with high fives, with smiles, staying highly intense in this game. Hannah Graham got fouled. She's a Maine native. This Bowdoin team has 7 Maine natives. Cordelia Stewart, Hannah Graham, who we just mentioned, Emily Camels from York, Caputis from Brunswick, Maine, Hassan from South Portland, Cook from Portland, Maine, and Sydney Hancock from Casco, Maine. Bowdoin's goal, of course, is to get back to the NCAA tournament, get another NESCAC title. We talked about this earlier in the pregame show earlier today. Geary got fouled. Strong to the cup. She's back in. Geary will get 2 at the free throw line in just a moment. Adrian Scheibels in her 9th season. First year was 2008-2009. And she got a championship in her first year. (71-47). Another foul on the floor against UMass Boston. That's Quinones on the block downstairs. Well, this is the final game of a 4-game homestand for UMass Boston, but 6 of their last 7, they're in a stretch right now of 6 home games in 7 total contests. Off the distribution, Rivera got it snuffed away, and Geary controls. Rivera, Quinones, Geary, Rivera, Matthew, and Illibode, who goes down to the floor. 71-47 the score, 24-point game. Beacons go to Rhode Island College, like we talked about, and then home against Southern Maine and Plymouth State. Close out the season with 2 games on the road at UMass Dartmouth and at Eastern Connecticut State. 4 of the final games of the Bowdoin season are against conference teams. Illibode couldn't finish the second one either. I should say, 4 of the final 5 are against conference teams. The lone non-conference games remaining for the Polar Bears at Husson College on February 7th. Final 2 games of the season for Bowdoin are at home. Geary knocks down a 3 and a timeout for head coach Christina Baugh. 4:55 to go. Beacons down by 23. And we'll take one final break, come back for the finish. You're watching UMass Boston women's basketball on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
UMass Boston was my first choice because when I came to the campus, I saw that there was a lot of diversity. There's a lot of people. Here there is a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world. I'm Julia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
I'm Olivia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
We're sisters.
We're sisters.
I play volleyball and she plays basketball. Here they have a freshman success community. So each major has their own community that you can join as a freshman, and you take classes with them, you do study groups with them. So it was really helpful getting to know people in your major right away.
So in health exercise sciences, we have an internship at the end, so it's so much better to have like an advisor helping you out, like telling you which classes to choose.
Final media timeout of the contest. Bowdoin up by 23, like we told you. It's back to for the most part, it's conference play here on out for Bowdoin at least, 4 of the next 5 against conference teams. Like we told you, they play Kelsey College, sandwiched between 2 conference games, then that Kelsey game, and then 2 more conference games at home before the NES CAC tournament. Bowdoin will be in the thick of that, of course. Number 23 team in the country. Kelly buries a 3. Abigail Kelly from Bombay, New York, just a sophomore. Lots of sophomores on the squad. Bowdoin has just 1 junior, and that's the leading scorer, Kate Kerrigan. And check that, another sophomore, Lauren Petty, who averages 5.5 points per game. Beacons on the floor. Burston, Rivera, Geary, Illibode, and Katrina Edwards. Burston will shoot 2 with 4:18 left. We told you about the home-heavy portion of the schedule. Beacons closing out this 4-game homestand. Right now, it's looking like they're going to finish the homestand at 1-3, a win against Western Connecticut State on January 21st. If the Beacons do not pull off the comeback, this would be their 3rd straight loss. In their first meeting with Bowdoin since 1993. The series history not all that strong. These 2 teams finally getting together again. Beacons having a chance to host. Ball falls loose, picked up by Burston. Beacons have 4-on-3 here if they push it. Geary drives the lane, tough shot, got the floater to go. Down to 24. Upcoming road for the Beacons. 2 of the final 5 games of the season are at home. The last 2 of the regular season slate at UMass Dartmouth, at Eastern Connecticut State. Then the Little East tournament starts on February 21st. We're coming up on 3.5 to play. Beacons are in the bonus, meaning they can get to the free throw line on any defensive foul. Illibode fighting for room, finds Rivera, wide open, couldn't finish it. And then Roy got it back for a moment. It's a fresh clock, so they can take their time. Geary drew the contact, couldn't finish. Geary then swipes it back, goes up, finishes 2. So now it's 78-54. And now Bowdoin calls a timeout. Some ball pressure put on by the Beacons. So Adrian Scheibels calls a timeout. We'll take the timeout as well. Beacons down by 24. We'll be back right after this.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Final 2.5 minutes or so of the fourth quarter. Bowdoin ball after this timeout. That jumper way too strong coming from Hannah Graham. Miscorralled by Bowdoin. And that two collected by Hannah Cook. 5'7" sophomore from Portland, Maine. Geary spin around scoop shot is good. Geary having a strong presence in this fourth quarter. 80-56, 24-point deficit. Hancock is a senior point guard who gets it off to Hannah Cook. They feed inside, and that jumper from Silfen bopped off the back of the iron. She'll have two at the free throw line. Geary, yes. Down to 22. With a minute 40 left, Beacon's trying to show us some heart in these final minutes. Off the deflection. Burston's running, so is it Matthew. Geary, a little head fake, in and out, couldn't finish. Free throws on the right here for Allie Silfen. And a jump ball gives possession to the Beacons. Officials get together just to double check. It is Beacon's ball. Silfen checks out. And Olivia Ware checks in for Bowdoin. So the Beacons go with Geary, Burston, Matthew, Rivera, and Katrina Edwards for the final minutes. Geary off the catch. Beacon's down by 23 with a minute left. Rivera's runner. No, it falls in and out. Final minute of regulation. Ball rolls away. 10 to shoot for Bowdoin. Don't forget, we'll have our post-game show coming up in just a moment. Off the bump, able to shove it off, Maddie Hassan. Beacons can have the final shot unless they want to rush here and try and get a quick bucket. Rivera curls around the screen. Geary goes inside to Edwards. Swarmed in traffic, her bounce pass gathered by Matthew. And she'll have two at the free throw line. With 7.4 seconds. Matthew trains the first one. Matthew from Coventry, Connecticut, off her own miss. Another jump ball. Bowdoin to get it back here. 5.4 to go. The Polar Bears can let the clock roll out. Roy just dribbles away, and that'll do it. UMass Boston, in the final game of a 4-game homestand, falls to the Bowdoin Polar Bears by the final score of 83-59. The Beacons fall to 8-12 on the season, final non-conference game of the season, so this, of course, does not affect Little East play in Bowdoin, number 23 team in the country, to 15-3 on the year overall. Bowdoin Polar Bears with an excellent season so far. We'll come back for our post-game coverage live at the Clark Athletic Center in Boston.
For the love of the game. That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a special obligation.
An obligation not merely to work towards a personal best in the classroom or in the sport we love, but rather an obligation to help those who have their own special needs and whose love for the game is no less intense.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. For Special Olympics athletes, victory belongs not only to those who first cross the line, but to all of those who compete and endure.
They are challenged in ways we cannot imagine. They are survivors who test themselves harder and with greater joy than we will ever know.
Since August of 2011, we and others from Division III campus communities have volunteered more than 250,000 hours, time away from the classroom and practice field, reaching across the country to coach and mentor Special Olympics athletes.
And to learn, as we all do, that in giving we receive so much more in return.
Sport ennobles us, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
Be part of it.
Get involved.
You can make a difference.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
The UMass Boston Beacons baseball team, who went 23-15 this year, and have consistently been a leader in their conference without having a home field to play on. That will change next season.
I am so happy and excited to join Boston College High School and your wonderful president to celebrate this symbol.
And welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center. Beacons coming off a loss to the Bowdoin College Polar Bears, joined by head coach Christina Baugh. Coach, thoughts on the game tonight? Obviously a tough team here in Bowdoin, nationally ranked, but what did you see out of your team tonight that you liked on the floor?
Ooh, man, what I liked, that's a big word. When we score, we had energy on the other end, and we've got to flip that. We've got to have energy to score, you know, defense to offense instead of offense to defense. So that really has to change in the next couple days in practice. And we've shown when we defend, we can hang with anybody. So I liked our intensity in the last 7 minutes. It was really important to try to win a quarter. We didn't by 2, but we played really hard at the end, so that was important for me to see.
What did Bowdoin do so well to put pressure on you guys? You had 16 turnovers in the first half, but it looked like when you guys took your time offensively and got some decent looks, it looked like everything was pieced together on the offensive end.
Yeah, we didn't handle the pressure, you know, the whole game. We had 16 turnovers in the first half. We ended up with 26 to their 17, you know, which is a little above their average, but we weren't aggressive to the rim. You know, so we didn't get a lot of those bump calls that they did. And then they got in the gaps and made us pay. They shoot the ball very well. They averaged 43%, and no one scores over 10 points a game. So they just shared really well, and we didn't move as well on the defensive end.
Well, quick road trip to Rhode Island College, and you're back at home, so best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Coach. We'll step aside and come back for highlights and more stats from this one. Beacons fall to the Bowdoin College Polar Bears. Jumper in. Hancock attempting to outlet. Beacons on the break. Kelsey drifts around one defender. And here's Scooper with the right hand. And here comes Bowdoin. Three-pointer, that's a bit with 4 minutes left. Now it's a 3-on-1 here. Bounce pass to Choate. Finding the cutter. Kerrigan with Geary got it ahead but turned it over. Daylight for Caputi. Making jump shots. Has not been her day entirely. Westwood, Massachusetts, attended Westwood High School. Had less than a minute of action. Here if they push it. Geary drives the lane. Tough shot. Got the floater to go. Bonus, meaning they can get to the free throw line on any defensive foul. Illabode fight. Don't forget, we'll have our post-game show coming up in just a moment. Off the bump. Wrapping things up here at the Clark Athletic Center, Beacons fall 83-59 to the Bowdoin College Polar Bears. Let's look at the team stats on both sides. Beacons were heavily behind in that first half. They had 16 turnovers, had just 10 in the second half. Bowdoin actually had more turnovers in the second half as a team with 11, just 6 in the first half. But you can see they shot the ball well. Beacons shot the ball well too, but Bowdoin had a lot more looks, out-rebounding the Beacons by 9. Let's take a look at some of the team leaders from this one tonight. Beacons had a strong effort in the second half from Grace Geary. She made a couple of shots, got to the free throw line. And as Coach Baugh just told us, Beacons had some nice ball pressure at the end of the game. Beacons having great efforts individually, falling to 8-12 tonight. Bowdoin at 15-3, the number 23 team in the country. Big game for Bowdoin's Lydia Caputi. She had 15 points. Taylor Choate had 14. And leading the way for UMass Boston, Raven Kelsey with 12. Grace Geary, like we just mentioned, getting her season average of 12 points as well. We'd like to thank everyone with the Beacons Broadcast Network for tonight's production. Beacons do fall tonight by the final score of 83-59. So thanks so much to everybody who made this broadcast possible. Once again, the Beacons on the road this weekend at Rhode Island College. And then they're back for 2 more home games to close out, or the early stages of February, home against Southern Maine and Plymouth State on February 11th. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back soon on the Beacons Broadcast Network.